Welcome to I Have Questions with Michael Ruland. Have you ever asked a question? Have you ever been in a classroom, been curious, or ever wanted to teach and learn? Then you're in the right place, because I have questions. Hi, I'm Mike Ruland. I've been a business owner, a soldier, an educator, a husband, a father. I am full of ADHD and am experiencing the negative effects of long COVID. But I've spent the last 2 decades working in the public school system as a teacher, coach, mentor, and administrator. I'm very passionate about being curious, about being educated, and most importantly, about having questions. Join me on my journey as I share stories, talk to some fun and inspiring people, gain insights to being a better teacher, a better student, and maybe even a better human. I hope you're ready, because I have questions. Welcome. Welcome. How are you today? I hope you're good. I'm hanging in there. It's been a rough month or so for me. Well, actually, probably a rough 3 months or so for me. But who's counting? Sarah's probably counting, but that's all good. She's having to babysit. Tough for her. Anyway, welcome. I hope you're good. I hope your family's good. We are definitely in the middle of holiday season. I hope you're having a good start to your holidays. I hope you have plans and everything's going to go great, or at least okay. Or if not, hang in there. I'm thinking of you. So let's get going, shall we? Hey, today I think we will talk about challenging our knowledge and beliefs and what we think of as truths by looking at things from a new or different perspectives. And I think if we do that, we're going to find out that it will change our life. I think that, we live in a world where it's easy to challenge others and what they believe in and what they think and what they know. But I believe that if we spent more time challenging ourselves and our knowledge and our beliefs and our truths, I think that we all will be way better off. I think, you know, we call perspective many things, like, put yourself in someone else's shoes or look at it through their eyes. But I believe it should be more than that. I think it should actually be about studying and researching and really learning about something or someone from a different perspective, not just imagining what it could be or might be. So, to do this, we're going to talk to a previous student of mine who actually reached out a couple of years ago and shared some of her post high school story with me and said she wants to really dedicate her life to looking at the world from a different perspective and being present for others as they go through some difficult times. It's a great story, and I can't wait to spend some time talking to her. So, you know, are you ready? I'm ready. So let's go, because I have questions. you know, as I think back on my life, I I really am sorry to say I was a very rigid person most of that time. Although there's always been a glimmer of hope that I was willing to challenge myself once in a while. I'm afraid my kids call that glimmer of hope being a devil's advocate or whatever it was. Whatever it was, I hope to now find myself really working on questioning my perspectives on things instead of other people's perspectives. I think this can come in many forms. One simple form And I remember going back many, many years ago, one evening, Brian was working on some math homework and was really struggling. And, Brian was really good at math, but this was geometry and he didn't like it. He was an algebra guy and geometry is totally different. On this particular night, he was really struggling and getting cranky, and I offered to help. My guess is that he didn't actually ask for help. But either way, there the two of us were looking at his geometry problems together. Um, he was frustrated and cranky, and I was looking at this problem and just not understanding how he couldn't get it. I was starting to struggle with how to help him when I took a second and looked at the work he had already done, and in doing so, realized that the problem he was stuck on was actually the same exact mathematical problem as the previous one he had done. But since it was geometry, the shape had been changed on the page. After some time of trying to point this out to him, to no avail, by the way, it dawned on me to change his perspective. So I took his textbook and literally rotated it 90 degrees. Within a second, he recognized the shape and the problem and easily solved it. What had taken 20 or 30 minutes of anguish and a potential father son blow up was solved in seconds with the use of a different perspective. Some 15 or 20 years later, Brian still likes to tell this story when he shares his dislike for geometry. And I like to remember this story because it is the most basic yet important spotlight on the simple thought of perspective. And though this was a simple book turn to change your perspective, I think perspective is oftentimes the simple act of turning our brains and letting go of that internal struggle we have and just simply stopping and trying to have a different perspective. So let's move forward with this. All right, everybody, here we go. Welcome back. So my guest today is someone who graduated from Cedar Crest almost a decade ago, over a decade ago, I think. Holy smokes, time flies. As I think I mentioned earlier, she had the unfortunate draw to have to take Algebra 2 from me, but she managed to graduate anyway. Uh, Jacqueline moved on and got a bachelor's in sociology, with a whole bunch of stuff in applied ethics and practical philosophy, like overachiever extraordinaire. And then she decides to get a master's in psychology, focusing on child and adolescent development. So cool. I think I told her I'm a little jealous, actually. I don't know why. She's smart enough to know what she's talking about, where I make it up, as you all know. So she she currently works at Seattle Children's Hospital, as I have to read this, people, so hang in there because it's a lot, as a complex care coordinator for bone marrow transplant. And she wants to become a researcher to improve education for students with ADHD and ASD. She's also a huge Seattle Sounders fan and just someone I'm glad we've managed to stay sort of connected because she was always one of my faves. I am very pleased to introduce you all to Miss Jacqueline Ward. Oh my gosh, Jacqueline, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
I am hanging in there. I am
Yeah,
hanging in there. So
yeah. Busy,
yeah,
busy season. Lots going on.
it is. And you're busy with work and we're in the middle of a little rainstorm.
Yeah, I think it's supposed
So
to flood in the valley. My
yes.
mom was going to come out to Seattle to join my sister and I, the symphony. Renee Goldsberry, who's in Hamilton, and a handful of other things, is doing a performance there to kick off her holiday season.
Ah.
And my mom said, I would love to. I think the valley's going to flood. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna stay on my island because we all
Yeah.
know how
So,
that goes.
and it is an island. For those of you who don't know, out here where we all live and Jacqueline grew up, it actually will turn into an island, and you can get stranded out there. So, and your sister works for the Seattle Symphony,
Yeah, she is their
and
public relations specialist.
yeah, bummer, huh?
I know, what a lame
I know.
job.
I'll take a little sidetrack here. I think I embarrassed the crap out of your poor sister her freshman year of high
Really?
school. Yeah, I actually felt a little bad. Not really. I shouldn't say that. I never felt bad. Um, they had the fall play and she was in it.
Hmm.
And I don't remember what it was anymore, but I went to it and oh my gosh. As a freshman, she was like a songbird.
Oh
And
yeah.
the next day in class, I called her out and just heaped praise on her, and I don't think as a freshman she was quite ready to be called out in class.
No, she grew into quite the social butterfly, but I think
Yes.
at first in her early adolescence that would have been just horrifying.
Yeah,
But I think that's
I
hilarious. So thank you for
I
doing that.
I she might not remember, I hope she doesn't, but I think I almost caused her to never talk to humans again.
Hmm.
Um,
Well,
but it
now
was
that's all she
amazing.
does. All she does is talk
Yeah.
to people now.
And now she's yeah, exactly. So anyway, I do what I do. This is what I did in class all the time too, right?
Oh,
Take
yeah. I mean,
right
I enjoy
turns.
it. That's what I do every day. This is normal for me.
Exactly. All right. So Jacqueline, so I've been talking today about spending time challenging ourselves to have different perspectives of and how that increases our own learning. And I think this is true with challenging ourselves with different books and different interests and meeting different people. Anyway, a couple years ago, you were silly enough to send me a message with a video attached to it. And that video happened to be a funny little thing about the song 12 Days of Christmas. And with that video, you shared with me that you had a memory from high school about a lesson I had done using that song. But then more importantly, what that lesson did for your perspective about math and life. And so I'm gonna press on you just a little and would you mind sharing just a little bit about that from your perspective?
Yeah, so I remember that was definitely probably around this time of year, I would say, because it was a whole Christmas theme. Um, and you had asked us, we're gonna go through all the gifts, the song for the 12 Days of Christmas, and then decide, you know, how many gifts are there? What do you think? And I remember the class being pretty split between, I don't remember the numbers now.
Yeah,
Still not a
me
number
either.
person. But there was the individual days. Each day was like a set of gifts, which I guess was just kind of like one. This is one gift. Day one, here's your gift. It's this. Or day six, here's your gift. It's six of these things. And then the other side of the room thought, no, these are individual things. We're going to add them all up together. And I remember just kind of sitting down in my desk because I was already kind of sat in the middle to back anyway, my favorite place. And I I remember sitting there thinking like, I mean, you're asking us this. So for some reason I feel like neither of these answers are correct because you were clearly not satisfied yet. You're going, no, okay, think about it some more. And then I was like, okay, so let's work outside the box a little bit. Clearly not one of these two very just straightforward answers because we're sitting here 15 minutes later. Like we're not doing this to waste time. Like we could do other things to waste time. And then I was like, well, what what are we actually talking about here? What are the gifts? Like what are you considering a gift? Because that's going to tell me, which direction to go to find the solution. Um, but you didn't really give us an answer when I asked you, well, what are we considering a gift? You just told everybody to go sit down. Um, and I will say, I remember feeling pretty good inside when I asked that, and you were like, "All right, we're wrapping this up." I'm like,
Yeah,
So,
we
I
did it.
got it right. But it was interesting to think about that because we're often so just like, especially with math, like, 2 plus 2 is 4, like 3 plus 3 is 6, like just very like linear solutions, whereas you challenge us to think of something different. And I just wasn't used to that in math. So I think maybe the environment kind of played into that I was ready for just like a linear answer. But
Yeah.
pulling myself outside of the math environment, and then I think maybe even thinking more about like, okay, well, who's asking me this? It's R. So it's gotta mean there's more to this for sure. Um, and I thought it was just so interesting because it was like we talked about it, and great, what do we actually consider to be a gift? And it was less, of course, about the literal sense of like what is a gift, and more so just like, well, let's think about how we're like, categorizing all these different things, and our perspective on what is a gift from, this side of the room versus this side of the room. And I think it was less about being right and more of like a mental exercise. And that part's
Mhm.
what really stuck with me. I mean, I'm sure, you know, 30 years down the road, I'll have forgotten like the exact details. Like I can
Yeah.
so keenly remember them now, but I'll always remember being tasked in a algebra class to not think linearly. It's like that was just so different from what I was used to. And of course, I'm not good at math except for geometry, but that's a visual thing. But I remember thinking like, "Oh my gosh." It like really pulled me out. Yeah, and I thought that was really cool.
Yay. That, yeah, I'll be honest with you that, that's what I tried to how I tried to teach. Because I think it's because I wasn't a formal educated math teacher, right? I had gone through life, I had gone through business, I had done all that, and so, um, I've always thought of math as it has its concrete answers, but with every single question, you can come at it from a different perspective every time. There's bar none. I mean, I could go down the line of all of these, solving equations, and you can literally solve them all by 2 or 3 different ways. And that's kinda what I was trying to get to that day, believe it or not. 'Cause I don't remember anymore, but I know basically after the holiday break in Algebra 2, you start getting into trigonometry, or at
Yep.
least we did back then,
Yeah.
right? And it was super important to me that you guys were open enough because trig can be brutal
Yeah.
if you're kinda stuck in a rut. So that
Yeah.
was the thing. So, anyway, that's all that was to kinda lead me into this. That question was set me up for this. So, in your current role at Seattle Children's, um, how have you used opening your perspectives from every different angle to help you in your current job with patients and their families? And are you also then trying to help them find new perspectives or both? Or, how does having this perspective affect life in what you're doing now in what is a a very tough job?
Think I think the way that it's helped shape what I do on like an everyday basis is more on like a personal level, like an interpersonal
Mhm.
level with patients and families, as opposed to like the actual physical coordinating that I'm doing. So less so on the computer and more just like in person. Whereas like a lot of our families have very complex needs of their own. Some have financial challenges or like mental health challenges. There's a lot of different people that we serve. I mean, it's no in the best way possible. I have not met a single normal family, but I kind of love that. It keeps things
Yeah.
interesting. And so I'm constantly being challenged to come up with different solutions to you give everybody what they need. Like, oh, we live 2 hours away, but we need to come every day for a timed lab draw, which can be a lot. But then, hey, we have satellite clinics. Let's try there. I can reach out to them, or some other families just have more like emotional needs that they have. Like maybe they don't actually need anything from me, but they just need someone to chat with.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, I have to walk away for, 20 minutes or so. I'm gonna be unavailable to everyone who needs me, and I'm just gonna go hang out because that's I've learned that that's like really huge. And so in my initially in this role, I was thinking of it as like, okay, so I'm coordinating really complex schedules for these kids post transplant, and I'm doing this, this, this. It felt very linear, but the more that I came into understanding this role, the more I realized that like it's a lot more complex than that. It's kind
Yeah.
of got like a 4D sort of aspect to it. Like
Yeah.
there's the emotional intelligence that's required with it, and the resourcefulness, two of which I think are some of my best qualities, and so I think that's why I've really excelled in this role. Um, but facing new perspectives has been interesting. For instance, there's a family I'd worked with in the past that had some religious requirements that would require them for them to stay like longer during the day so they could like pray before after services, and there was just a lot more involved that they needed. And normally people would say like, oh, okay, well, like let's just get them in and out like a regular doctor's office. But I was like,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna go make them pray in the hall. we're not
Right.
we're not doing that. And so speaking to other people in the clinic saying, hey, we need to set aside some time for this family so that they can, do what they need to do and feel comfortable. I know it's inconveniencing a lot of other people because we have like only so much time, but it means a lot to them. And so that's like just something I probably wouldn't have expected at the beginning of
Yeah.
this role, that like I needed to broaden my idea of like how to coordinate certain things. Like it's not just, oh, you're in here for an hour long appointment or something like that. But maybe I'll block out an hour and a half or 2 hours because you just need extra time to transition between appointments, or like the ebb and flow is a little bit different. So I think the perspective on people's needs has changed quite a
Yeah.
bit. That it's never just straightforward. Someone may tell you what they need, but unless you're asking questions and kind of like getting to know the family, like you're not really going to know everything that they need. Like there may be something that they could use that they're not telling you, but you're not going to know until you start having, a dialogue.
Yeah. Wow. Um, uh, figuratively and literally, what makes a gift, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. So I'm gonna kinda this has to be this is always kind of, too quick of a process, by the way, so I feel like I jump around a little bit on my questions, but, you know, um, when I introduced you, I mentioned that, you have some interest in research down the road and things like that, and so, I always tried my best to make my classroom fun ish anyway, without it being too completely out of control. So as someone who works with kids and has those goals to be involved and educate kids, how are you thinking about fostering creativity and critical thinking skills in the kids you work with? ADHD, ASD kids down the road, or the ones you hope to work with?
Yeah. I'd say right now I don't have that sort of population, at least in the context of my role. I'm not like their designated person for that, as much as I would love to be. It's a
Yeah.
little bit further down the road, so we're working on it. But once I get there, I've been really fascinated with the idea of like the Montessori sort of schooling, and just like kind of like letting kids do their own thing, especially early on. Um, Setting out a lot of options, what are you gravitating towards? How can we manipulate this to, expand your mind,
Yeah,
exercise that brain? And I think what would be most helpful from my perspective, I had taken a social work class in my undergrad, just a 101, see if that was my thing. I don't think it's necessarily for me, like a very like direct kind of like patient facing sort of thing.
yeah,
I do like the research a lot though. Um, where there's a lot of resource lacking, a lot of policies that could be improved. For instance, I myself, as an adult, found out late diagnosed ADHD, so everything in high school made so much more sense why I'm
yeah.
not very good at math, for instance. Um, but I remember thinking, wow, if I had had the resources I do now when I was a kid, I would have excelled beyond what I mean, I did great, but I feel like I could have done so much better if I had
Yeah,
just been, provided the information I needed and the resources. And that's pretty common in undiagnosed girls and women as
yeah.
well. Like they present differently
They
than
present totally differently.
mhm,
Yeah,
mhm. So everyone's like, "Oh wow, you're so bubbly and all this." Like, little did you know, there's so much going on back
yeah,
here. A lot of behind the scenes work. So one of the things that I think is a very big passion of mine in the realm of research is to just look at how specifically like my number one enemy right now is standardized testing because that was
hey,
just oh boy,
yep,
I understand the purpose it holds, but it's just not uh neurodivergent friendly. That's for sure. And I've read some anecdotal articles from different teachers and educators who have tried varying methods with their students in a more like broad inclusive way, like instead of giving extra time for a test for one kid as a whole class, 15 minutes has gone by. Let's stand up. Let's stretch our legs, like move around
yep,
a little bit. Keep the blood flowing, get the little fidgets out, and then everybody sits back down. So there's no like singling out, no, oh, I got to go take a test in this room because I'm different. Like, I mean, let's be real. None of us are really normal anyway. So there may be somebody that needs it that just they don't have a plan. Like they don't have an IEP or anything like that. Um, and so that's something that I think I want to focus with when it
awesome.
comes to that research and helping kids who do have ADHD or autism spectrum disorder, or even just like maybe they don't, but kids are all different. They have different needs. There's a
Yeah,
reason everything's on a spectrum. Like they may not be, hitting all the criteria to be diagnosed in a certain way. I know people are afraid of overdiagnosis, so I want to be careful there. Not everybody fits that criteria, but some people are kind of in the middle, and maybe they don't have any of these things, but they could certainly benefit from just a little bit of movement, a little bit of change, little
yeah. Well,
destandardization.
little destant. I'm with you, 100% with you. As I'm sure I told boring stories day after day in algebra class, but as I haven't hidden on this show or in my life, I wasn't diagnosed formally until I was in my 30s with ADHD. And, you know, just like you said, I look back on my school years and I'm like, I'm both a little miffed and also sometimes I'm okay with not having been diagnosed, right? It's that good and bad of it. But
Yeah.
I think back and I'm like, wow, my schooling would have been night and day different,
Completely different.
right?
Yeah. Goodness,
And
it's nice to
so,
think back on like okay, I didn't have those resources, but now you know what's lacking. You can see where it fell through and then be, you know, maybe a researcher, an advocate, an educator saying, I see this hole. Let's fill that so that other kids
yeah,
aren't struggling.
yeah, I will say in my classroom, and I would never expect anybody to remember this or have picked up on it, but I never did a single a single thing longer than 15 minutes. And so every bit of my instruction time was split into 15-minute sections. And it
Interesting.
was on purpose because I was ADHD and
Yeah.
I would go crazy, right? And And I'll be honest, bringing up that class period where we did the 12 Days of Christmas. I don't know if you remember, but I had you guys stand in different corners.
Hmm.
So I had people moving all the time.
Hmm.
And again, that was because I was ADHD. I knew that was a thing. And so, but I know, most teachers don't do that
Yeah.
because, a lot of them are just your run of the mill, good at that subject,
Hmm.
good students, and they don't. So I'm your biggest fan when you start researching that. How's that?
You got it. I'll send you my first paper when we get there.
I'm there. I'm there for you. Cool. All right, Jacqueline. Time for my curious questions.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Yeah. So this is kind of a new thing, by the way.
Okay, I'll be your guinea
By
pig.
by kind of, I mean you're the first one.
Sweet.
Um,
Okay, let's do it.
I've decided to change up a little chunk of my show here. So everybody listening, cut. Brand new. Here we go. Curious questions. One word answers or short word answers. Up to you. Favorite holiday, Jacqueline Ward?
Halloween.
Halloween. Ooh, I like that one. The one place that you absolutely need to visit in the next 10 years.
Ooh, Lake Como in Italy, where they film. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
Yes, I
that's a
do.
must.
Yeah, I've seen pictures.
Oh, it's on my
I've
Pinterest
seen
board.
I've seen pictures. Very cool. All right. Either a person, I'm sorry, not either. A person either past or present that you would want to spend one full day with.
It's a good one. Princess Diana. Yeah.
Wow. Caught me off guard on that one. Good one though.
Not a
Yeah.
family member. I mean, I love my family, but
Yeah. Nope. I like that one. That's awesome. All right. Favorite book you have ever read?
that's tough.
Mhm.
On the theme of perspective, The Room, I think Emma Donoghue wrote it. They made it into a movie not too long ago.
The
The book
Room.
is significantly better, by the way.
That they always are, aren't they?
Oh yeah, from the perspective
Yeah.
of a 4-year-old, this whole novel, it's just mind blowing. Um,
Awesome.
yes, definitely PG-13 though. Just a heads up.
That's all right. Keeps you out of trouble. All right. Last one. Who is either your favorite band or favorite song or a favorite concert? So it's a nice broad one.
Ooh, when my sister watches this, she's gonna be surprised. I did not say the Eras tour was my favorite concert. I think I'm gonna go that route. I believe it would have been when I went to see Muse at Climate Pledge.
Ooh,
I don't think I've ever seen a
Muse.
better show. Mm,
Really?
mm-hmm. It was
Wow.
very impressive.
That's good to know.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thanks for being the first one on the curious questions.
Of course, that was fun.
Appreciate that. All right, Jacqueline, your turn. The show is yours now. Did I miss something you would like to add? Is there anything else that we should have covered, or do you have a question for me?
See, the tables have turned. Let's see.
Ah, I know. I always worry I shouldn't ask this, but I kind of started with it. Now I'm like, if I get rid of it, everybody will notice.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. I think I'm gonna ask you a question.
Great.
I know you're like, oh, please don't pick that one. What is the most memorable day you've had thus far in your life? Good or bad? Just something that really stuck
Ah,
with you and you're like, I'm
well,
gonna hold this.
yeah. You know, wow. This is I I got to go with the one that first popped in my head. Um, and I guess I keep trying to think of something else because I don't want to be cliche, but I'm a dad, two kids, and on both of them being born,
Yeah.
those days are I'll never forget that. I'll have Alzheimer's and still remember those two being born. But I will also say this, a third day,
Yeah, that is two.
a third a third a third most memorable day for me, and this is a weird one, and we've actually talked about it already,
Right.
is the day the doctor told me I was ADHD. And it wasn't about being told that. It was about what happened next and finding out how to navigate it. Um, and I was my 20s, my teens and 20s were pretty jacked up. I mean, I was let's be honest, I was pretty ADHD on medication. You should have seen me off of it. Um, yeah, so first would be Emily and Brian, and then third would have been that day. How's that?
Yeah,
Yeah. It did change my life. It really did. And
yeah,
so I better keep that somewhere near me.
yeah. No, that's relatable.
So
You're like suddenly getting not just validation, but the permission to start changing
yeah,
things, and you have like
yes.
a reason you can tell people instead of just I don't know, it feels better this
Yeah,
way, right?
yeah. It was that we all have all the ADHDers have it is mic time where, shoot, my family would tell me something, an hour before it was supposed to happen so that I would show up on time type things, right? Um,
The clock in my car set 10 minutes ahead for that
yeah,
exact reason.
right. So it's a thing. It
Yeah,
really is.
yeah, you
So
need that buffer time because time is a
yeah,
construct and it just doesn't work for us.
yeah. My son gets cranky at me because I'll show up to a golf course when I could golf. I'm not able to golf much anymore, but when I could golf, I literally would walk from the car to the tee box, and it would drive him nuts. So, um, anyway, Jacqueline, I appreciate you so much for jumping on with me. I think, it's so important, not just in education and learning, but in life to make sure we have different perspectives of everything. Um, when we stop and think about our friends and people who we don't know, I always we got to stop and think about what's their perspective or what's a
Yeah.
different perspective I could have. So I appreciate you sharing that
Yeah.
with me.
Oh, of course.
And you would think that that would be the end of it, but
It did sound like a wrap up.
it is a wrap up. It's a wrap up of the questioning.
I like it.
Uh-huh. This again is part of the new track here. So the last thing you have to do before I let you go, two things. The first one, can you give one piece of advice to a brand new teacher?
Ooh, new teacher advice. I would say make it's nerve-wracking at first, I'm sure, as a new teacher. Make those interpersonal relationships. Because that's not even just gonna, broaden your own horizons and perspectives, but that's gonna make the kids you're teaching feel comfortable asking questions. I mean, most of the teachers I had in college that were, smaller class sizes, more interpersonal, I felt comfortable asking questions where I'm like, is this a stupid question? And there aren't stupid questions,
Yeah.
arguably, but I'm sure I could think of a few.
Yes.
But it's I think it benefits everyone. Even if you don't have a lot in common, just inviting a little bit of easy way to do it, a little bit of play, a little bit of silliness. It gets everybody to loosen up and not the typical icebreaker like, oh, where did you go on vacation? No one cares. I want to know what is your like dream sandwich? Like what kind of toppings? See if you can make any sandwich. You walk into Quiznos and they got everything. What are you making? Just
Curious.
weird,
Yeah.
curious questions.
Curious questions.
Yeah, be curious. Actually, maybe that's the advice. Be curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just
Nice.
as a student, but as a new educator. You kind of are a student in a way too. I mean,
You
we're learning from
totally
each
are.
other, right?
Exactly. See, you got this. All right, last one. Then you get to cut loose. You just gave a piece of advice to a new teacher. What's one piece of advice to give to anybody who's a learner?
Well, I won't plagiarize myself and say be curious, but let's see. Oh, you got to be okay with failing. Oh god, it sucks
Bravo.
so much. It sucks so much and it hurts, especially if you're, have high expectations for yourself, perfectionist, maybe someone who's neurodivergent. It hurts so, so badly and you don't want to do it anymore. And it's so cliche, but you're never gonna get better. I mean,
That's
I was
awesome.
really crap at well, what was it? I think like the foil method with like, do you know what I'm talking about? I was
I've heard
really
of it.
bad at it. With like the multiplying
Yep.
I'm visual, so
First,
I can see
ready,
it. First, outside,
foil.
inside, last.
Yep.
Yeah, I still remember that part.
Yay!
But that's the thing. I was crap at it. And then after a little while, I was like, okay, well, I found a pattern in it. And so the pattern recognition, that skill kicked in. I was like, oh, okay, this isn't that bad. So maybe that's another thing. Find a new perspective that way. If you're bad at something, do it a little bit different. You don't have to do it the same way everybody else does. I mean, how would we like
Yeah.
figure out any of this anyway if everyone's doing it the same way, right? Like that's
Awesome.
not how you discover anything.
That's a grand champion answer
Well,
right
thank
there.
you.
Jacqueline Ward, thank you so much
Thanks for
for
having
everything
me.
you do at your job and for, for being silly enough to stick with me after graduation a little bit. And good luck on the research. You
Thank
may
you.
find me calling you up again for another talk
Sounds good. I'm
someday
like looking
soon.
forward to it.
And you know what, people, we are right before the holidays. So happy holidays to you and your fam.
Thank you. You too.
Tell Ellison I say hi
Hello.
and take care. Oh, that was so nice talking to Jacqueline. I'm hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Um, I love the work she does for kids and for families. It's amazing and definitely from the heart. So, um, little chronic illness update time. Not much to update. Still chronically ill, still struggling, still having to have Sarah and Brian and Emily take care of me. That's a lot of fun for a 59-year-old. Anyway, thought very quickly today, just touch base about doctor's appointments. I've had my fair share of those things, and as the guy on the receiving end of it, it's a pain in the butt because you go to these appointments and it feels like every single appointment creates another appointment because there's nothing really big time wrong, but there's always something wrong. And I don't know. I would say the last half dozen or so appointments, I kind of start most of them with my doctors saying I'm kind of over it and done with the tests and done with the meds. And they say, I understand. And then I get more meds and more tests. So apparently, apparently I'm not done with it. Anyway, coming up in the next month, let's see, what do I've got going on? I got some deep nerve fiber testing happening. I think I've shared with you that I had some skin biopsies taken and the small fiber nerve endings. I have none in my feet and calves, and less than half available in my thigh. And so that prompted for more tests. So in a couple weeks or maybe even a week, sometime, whenever Sarah takes me, I have more testing to see if that damage is deeper. So that's a fun thing. Uh, I have some esophagus and stomach issues, so I get to go have testing there. Apparently, I have some intestinal issues, so that's cool. I'm excited for that. That's awesome because yeah, we needed another body part involved. Anyway, I think my pinky finger is perfectly fine though. So well, I don't feel anything in it. So I guess not completely fine, but I don't think that's from chronic illness. That's from neck fusions, right? Anyway, just know that yeah, doctors, doctors visits, testing. It's exhausting, but we keep doing it. So anyway, enough of that. Thanks for listening. Appreciate you. I think sometimes that's the most important part is being heard. So appreciate you. Thank you. As always, thanks so much for joining me on my little podcast journey on teaching and learning and questioning and on, my chronic illness thing. As always, please touch base with me. I have questions 2025 at gmail.com. Hope to talk to you soon. If you're watching or listening on YouTube, hit subscribe. I'm going to be one of those guys, hook me up. Hit follow or like on Spotify or Apple. And if you like it, pass me on to some friends because I kind of think some of the stuff we talk about is good. I hope it is anyway. So talk to you next week. So, have a great week. Get curious, be kind, and most important, ask questions. Have a good week. Hey, P.S. So, I started reading a new book by Carl Sagan. It's called The Demon Haunted World. It's a little deep. Carl, I think, was getting a little cranky towards the end of about things, and it's kind of about science as a candle in the dark. And you know, Sagan's book Pale Blue Dot is one of my all-time favorites. Anywho, in this book, Sagan describes the need for better perspective and more challenging of our thoughts. He discusses how humans can believe in the idea of an Atlantis, this water-based thing, but it's based on absolutely nothing scientific. It's just been romanticized and it's got pleasant opinions of others. And yet, us same humans will ignore scientific facts for many things because they might be unpleasant. It's really an interesting read. Pretty deep though, but interesting. Anyway, as I'm reading the book, Carl Sagan shares that his love for science actually began when he was a young boy and his parents took him to the 1939 World's Fair. Now, I've heard and read about World's Fairs, but really don't have much knowledge about them other than, the Space Needle out here in Seattle was built for the Seattle World's Fair. So I kind of knew that. But that was really it, right? I have never been around a World's Fair. Uh, so I thought I'd take a gander and see what's going on. The very first World's Fair was in London, England in 1851. It was actually a way for Great Britain to show off a little and share their colonies and all of their industrial advancements and stuff. And, that first World's Fair was held in this place called the Crystal Palace. They built it just for the fair. This huge exhibition hall. Unfortunately, it burned down in the 1930s before the World War II anyway. But ever since that first one, there's been more than 100 World's Fairs. In fact, and I'm surprised by this, I thought they'd gone away, but they are still a thing, just not in the United States. So anyway, as I was looking into this, did you know that in the 1964 World's Fair, it's one that was held in New York City, video chat was all the rage? Video chat in 1964. So it was called a picture phone, and you could make real life video calls with other people. So to show off the picture phone, AT&T and Ma Bell set up a station at that fair in New York, and then they had one in Disneyland in California, and you could have a video chat in real time with someone between New York and Disneyland. They were hoping it would become a thing, but it wasn't. It was pretty expensive, and people didn't think it was cool. But here we are, you know, 50, 60 years later, and by golly, it's a thing. We're doing this. Hey, peace and love are. This has been a production of SMEB LC Enterprises. Please give us a thumbs up, share us with others, and come back next week for another leg of our journey. Thank you for spending some of your valuable time and energy with us today. This is also a great time to reach out to someone in your life and just ask them, how are you doing? Don't wait until next week. And remember, it is always powerful to say, I have questions.